it is Saturday morning, and this is the first time this week that I have had time to make any kind of clip or anything. And today I'm going to hopefully do a little vlogging if it doesn't get too awkward to many people, whatever. I'm gonna see, because we are going on a little date today to a town about half an hour away or so from us, and it's not a very big town, but it is a strong and thriving community. And today they are having a book festival, and there are in particular two authors that I want to see there today that I have mentioned before. Toni Shiloh, who is a local author to me and a Christian author, and then Cathy Gohlke. I am actually not sure where she lives, but she is going to be at the festival today, and she's going to be reading a portion of her latest book. So I am interested in meeting both of them. I brought a book that I have for Cathy Gohlke to sign, a book by her, Saving Amelie, which was really good World War II era story. And unfortunately, I did not have a book for Toni Shiloh to sign, so maybe I will pick up something there. We'll see, and have her sign it. Anyways, so we're heading that way, and we'll see what else we get up to on the way. Other than that, I finished reading Fahrenheit 451 as a buddy read with Catherine at Read Journal Love and Jeanette at Jane Reads, and I will make a video later with my thoughts on that. It was a really good book. I am working on two books, one by Cathy Gohlke and one by Toni Shiloh, and I haven't finished either one of them. I'm about halfway through both of them, and I brought the Cathy Gohlke one is Nightbird Calling. It's really good. It's on my Kindle. It's on Kindle Unlimited. I'm trying to take advantage of my last month of Kindle Unlimited that I have, unless I can get like another deal. But anyway, it is really good. Very compelling story about a woman who is enduring an abusive marriage, and she overhears a plot between her husband and her father to basically incarcerate her in an insane asylum to give her husband grounds for divorcing her. And so she runs away to her great aunt Hyacinth and attempts to build a new life there. So that is a really, I'm really enjoying that one. It's very well written. It's the third book I've read by Cathy Gohlke, and I gave 4 or 5 stars to the other two, and this one is definitely shaping up to be a 4 or 5 star as well. So anyway, I will try to make some more clips later today as we get to the festival. See how much I'm brave to do. Sorry, there's a car braked in front of us. So anyways, ooh, farm stand, no, nursery. We'll see what other fun we get up to. This is our drive to the book festival. I just love where I live. I love how quickly we can get to the countryside and be driving through roads like this, and towns like this. This is historic Waterford, which is not too far from me. It's not where the book festival was, but we drove through it to get there, and it's such a beautiful old town with so many old houses and buildings, and they have a festival every October that I haven't been to yet, but I really want to go. Maybe I'll try and go there this year. I love this house on the hill straight up ahead, the brick house. Dream house right there. Sorry about the buggy windshield. And then we crossed the Potomac later in the day to go across to Maryland to a coffee shop, and I just love the view. And at this point in time, the sky was so beautiful. It had been rainy earlier, but here it was just absolutely gorgeous view. Outside the community center where the book fair was, there was a little free library, and it was raining, but I checked it out. I didn't find anything. I already just recently got a copy of that book, so I don't need it. But it was fun to browse. Once we finished with the book fair, we drove across the Potomac River to Brunswick, Maryland, and went to this really cool cafe called Beans in the Belfry, which is in an old church building. Now, I wish it was still a church, but it does make for a fun coffee shop. Very cozy and atmospheric. They had books there in the vestibule area for decoration. And then this stairwell off to the side, those old wood photographs. And then you can see the stained glass windows. All the stained glass windows were the same type. Such a really cool old building. My husband got a lemon meringue pie. And I got myself a little French press. This was a cozy little nook seating area with a children's library. I'm not sure why the coffee was being poured from outside the window, but there you have it. Okay, I am back home and I wanted to tell you all about my trip to the book festival and the authors that I talked to and the authors that interested me that I found there. It really was quite an impressive festival, book festival, for being a small town in Loudoun County, Virginia, and consisting almost entirely of local authors. And as far as I know, all of the ones that I met, I believe, were pretty local. So it was actually a really impressive collection of authors there and works, everything from children's literature to nonfiction, Christian fiction, fantasy, thrillers, suspense, a lot of historical fiction authors, which is my jam, so I was happy to see that. So I had a fantastic time. I apologize, the lighting is not fantastic because like there's like the roof line of my house creating a shadow like where this, anyway, sorry. We'll just have to deal with it. So I got this cute little bag that they were giving to everyone who attended the festival. And it had some little goodies in it, like, what's it got, a pencil, Love Books Festival. There's a pencil and then a notepad. Okay, falling apart stuff. Little notepad. And a little pin that says, I love reading, which is cute. And of course I wore my little bookshelf earrings because I thought it was appropriate for the occasion. Well, let me go through the items in my bag that I collected or brought there and tell you about each of the authors that I met and the fun that I had there. So this author was intriguing to me. I did not have a chance to talk to him because there were a lot of people gathered around his table. But this is his most recent book, I believe, called The Sea. His name was Jeff Shiring. And the concept of this story, I don't know if I would be able to read it. It's a little too soon. Honestly, I struggle with reading 9/11 books because I lived through it. And the plane that crashed into the Pentagon is not that far from me. And someone that I know on Instagram had posted a really great post with recommendations of 9/11 books. And I have read one of them. I've read Let's Roll by Lisa Beamer, and that was really good. I hadn't read any of the others. Some of them did sound interesting, but I find it hard to read 9/11 books because it feels like too recent history for me, even though it was more than 20 years ago. This one is obviously taking its storyline from the pandemic. So again, a little bit too soon. So I'm not sure if I could actually read it or not, but it sounded very intriguing. And that is The Seed by Jeff Shiring. So I took his card and I'm gonna keep that book on my radar And he has some nonfiction books, I think, and some children's literature that looked interesting. And then, let me see. There were quite a few historical fiction authors there today. So here's one. Now, I believe this is the only book that she has published so far. And that is, it's called Fearful Breakers by Janice Sebring, Chart and Compass. And it is set in Cuba, I believe she said. Yeah, Cuba. In the 18th century, I want to say, which is such an intriguing time period. And it's about a young man who has to make a decision whether he wants to join his uncle in his smuggling operation or his father, I believe, in some other kind of trade. So anyway, and it's set at sea. So she gave me this little bookmark with these terms for the sails on it. So that was definitely interesting and intriguing. There was another historical fiction author there, Corinne Fox, and she had 2 books there. And the first one that she wrote was set in Cambodia in the 1970s. And there was apparently in the 70s a genocide in Cambodia. And so her book is about a Mormon missionary who goes to Cambodia and the things that happen there. And then there's a dual timeline with a contemporary storyline as well. And then her most recent novel, can't remember what it's called. I'll put a link to all of the authors and their books that I'm talking about in the description box. But her most recent book was it was one of those, the girl in the dress walking away from you in the cover, and then there was a house in the background, like a historic house, and I cannot remember the name of it or what it was about, but that one also looked really good. Another author that I did not know much about, but she has quite a few historical fiction novels that all sound really intriguing to me, and that is Susan Higginbottom. Some of her books are The Traitor's Wife, Hugh and Bess, The Stolen Crown, The Queen of Lost Hopes, Her Highness the Traitor, Hanging Mary, The First Lady and the Rebel, John Brown's Women, and The Queen of the Platform. And Hanging Mary is the first one that interests me because it is about Mary, and I forget her last name, but she owned an inn in Maryland, I want to say, and John Wilkes Booth, I don't know if he was related to her or he just hung out a lot at that inn with other people that he collected with and was in company with and in cahoots with. And she was part of the whole assassination of Abraham Lincoln, and she was involved in it. And last year, my family and I, we went to Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., and the house across the street from there where Abraham Lincoln passed away. And so they have a museum there about the assassination, and there's a lot of information there about John Wilkes Booth, and there's so much like mystery and intrigue surrounding the whole situation. And she did this author, Susan Higginbottom, she did a lot of research. She said it was very fascinating to do all of the research into this woman, Mary, who was a piece of that puzzle, and all of the events surrounding part of the whole assassination of Abraham Lincoln, and she was involved in it. And last year, my family and I, we went to Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C., and the house across the street from there where Abraham Lincoln passed away. And so they have a museum there about the assassination, and there's a lot of information there about John Wilkes Booth, and there's so much like mystery and intrigue surrounding the whole situation. And she did this author, Susan Higginbottom, she did a lot of research. She said it was very fascinating to do all of the research into this woman, Mary, who was a piece of that puzzle, and all of the events surrounding Lincoln's assassination and how it went down and everything. So that book is really intriguing to me. I checked, and my library does have it or will have it. I can't remember if that one was out yet or not. It was in their catalog, but it wasn't on the shelves. So I'm going to put it on hold because I want to read that. And some of her other titles also sound really interesting to me. So then another author that was new to me was Sharon Verts. And isn't that a gorgeous card? And Sharon Verts lives in and is renovating the Selma Mansion, which is a historic home here where I live in Virginia. And it was owned by the Mason family. George Mason was the author of the Virginia Bill of Rights, which was the inspiration for the federal Bill of Rights that made its way into our Constitution. National Bill of Rights, however you want to say that. And Thomas Jefferson drew heavily on George Mason's work in the Virginia Bill of Rights. My understanding, if I remember correctly, because I visited George Mason's other home, Gunston Hall, I believe, and all of the other, historic homes in the area. And if I am remembering correctly, what I learned in those places is that Virginia was the first state to have a Bill of Rights. And George Mason was the one who basically was the impetus for that and the one who created it. So a key piece of national history, but also Virginia state history, and also George Mason, his name, I'm not sure if he founded it, but he is what George Mason University is named after. So back to Sharon Verse, the author, who lives in the house that he owned at some point and is renovating it. She writes historical fiction, but what I love about her stories, and she was telling me all of the storylines of the books that she has, they are all set in Loudoun County, Virginia, which is the county where I live currently, and they're all set in like the 19th century, and they're all based on true stories and true characters and true things that happened in history. And so I'm really intrigued by her stories, and I really want to read them. In particular, she has one coming out, The Grays of Truth or something like that, that's not out yet, but currently can be pre-ordered. And then there are two others, The Mask of Honor, which I think is her first one, and then Veil of something. That is the one, and I think I have heard other booktubers mention this one. That is the one that I really want to read. It is about a woman who was suspected of murdering her children and her husband, and I think maybe her mother-in-law or something. And it's about the lawyer who defends her and his struggle with faith and some other things. So that was really intriguing to me. So I definitely am putting that on my TBR. My library also carries her books, so I have put them on hold. But they're very popular around here, at least, because the one I was just talking about, The Veil of something, whatever, has 9 hold requests ahead of me. So it's going to be a while before I get to that. But I'm really interested in reading that one. That one may have an ebook, so I may get to the ebook at the library. So then the two main authors who were the reasons that I went there were Cathy Gohlke and Toni Shiloh. And I did not realize that Cathy Gohlke currently lives in the town where this book festival was, in Lovettsville, which is like an amazing small town in Virginia. They have a really strong community. We've been there multiple times over the past years since we've lived not too far from it. We live about half an hour from there. There are a lot of like farm stands and farms there, and they do a lot of community events. My sister and I are going to be going there in a few weeks. They're going to have like a community yard sale, flea market type thing, and we're going to have a table there. So anyway, love Lovettsville. Had no idea that she lived there. I have read in the past a couple of her books, including this one on this bookmark that she gave me, Saving Amelie. And I'm currently reading Nightbird Calling by her. This is my copy of Saving Amelie, and she so very kindly signed it for me. So that is that one. This is a really good World War II historical fiction. I really enjoyed it. I think most of her books are World War II fiction. So I'm not always in the mood for that, but these are very well written, excellent stories. And the ones that I've read. And then the other author that I wanted to see was Toni Shiloh, and I'm currently reading In Search of a Prince by her. Last Christmas, I read, oh goodness, I forget the name of it, but it was her Christmas release last year, and it was very good. I enjoyed it. I talked about it on my channel here last Christmas, and it was set in this area near where I live. So it was set in DC. So, but all of the things they did at Christmas time are things around here. So I love that. I had an option of getting her Christmas release for this year, which is not publicly available yet, I don't believe. And I was really wanting to, and it looks like it's like a football kind of story. But in the end, I got this one because I have seen a lot of people talking about this one on BookTube recently. And it's called The Love Script. And I think that it's like a fake dating kind of thing with a Hollywood actor or whatever. I've heard a lot of good things about it. A lot of booktubers have loved this one. So I got this one and I got it signed. So, and then, I forgot to mention, backing up to Cathy Gohlke. So I'm gonna skip around here a little bit. She had all of her books for $10 at her table. So I ran out of cash. So we had to go get some more. So then I came back and I got this one, which is her latest book, Ladies of the Lake. And this one is set in PEI in Canada, on Prince Edward Island. And she told me, when I told her that my name was Anne with an E, she said that I would like this one because Lucy Maud Montgomery is a character via correspondence in this story. So I thought that was really cool, and so I'm really looking forward to reading it. And she also signed this one for me, of course, which was wonderful. And also, one other thing I wanted to mention about her newest book, which I forget what it's called, is going to be released next April in 2025, and I'm definitely getting that one. I might pre-order that one once it becomes available for pre-order. I don't think it is yet. And that one is inspired by a Christmas tree farm in Lovettsville, where she lives. And get this, that Christmas tree farm is where we get our Christmas tree every year. And I believe that I talked about it on my channel last year at Christmas time. I love it. It's like one of those Hallmark type of Christmas tree farm places. It's so fun. And the setting of it is gorgeous. It's like set in the mountains, and they have popcorn and apple cider, and they have all of these murals and these fun things to do, and they have great trees and great prices, and it's just so much fun to get our Christmas tree there. So we get our Christmas tree there every year, and the book that she wrote most recently is set inspired by that Christmas tree farm. So that was so exciting, and I can't wait until that book is released. I don't think it's a Christmas story. It's just that was the setting that inspired her story. So anyway, back to Toni Shiloh. I am reading, sorry, I'm skipping around because I forget what I was wanting to talk about. But anyways, I'm reading In Search of a Prince by her, and I am not quite halfway through. And this one is kind of like Princess Diaries meets The Bachelor, because the girl in this story, she finds out that she is a princess, and then so she goes to the country where she's a princess, and then there's this obscure law that's brought to bear that she has to be married in order to assume the throne, or something along those lines. I have not gotten to that part of the story yet, but then she has to choose someone to marry, etc. So I don't know exactly how that process will go or what will happen as far as that goes, but it is very interesting so far. What I really like is that it's set in Africa, so in an imaginary country in Africa, and that is so cool. I love that, and it adds like a fresh twist to the story. And also the woman, unlike Princess Diaries, which is, very young adult and it's a young girl in the story, this is a grown woman, and so she's approaching the whole thing very maturely, so it doesn't have like that young adult feel to it. So I really like that about it. I met another new to me author who is an independently published Christian fiction author, and she writes rom-coms for adults, and then she also writes some YA dystopian. So I had never heard of her books or her works, so I asked her to film a quick clip to introduce herself and show her books to you all in case that you would be interested in reading them also. So here, meet Brianna Goodwin.
Hey, so my name is Brianna, or B.R. Goodwin. I write Christian fiction rom-com and Christian fiction young adult dystopian. So this will make you sad, and this will make you laugh.
Perfect. And she publishes under the name B.R. Goodwin, and I picked up her series from her Sugar Tree Romance series. And these are all rom-coms, and they're set in different seasons. And so she got this cute little cat sticker there for me, and of course signed it for me. And I'm looking forward to reading this one. I think the fourth one in the series is just coming out or hasn't quite released yet. So there's currently a winter, spring, summer. I guess the next one will be a fall one, I'm not sure. Anyway, so this one I am going to read, probably I'll save this for Christmas time when it's more wintry, or in January for the winter season. So anyway, looking forward to reading this and looking into her other books and supporting her as an independently published author. So check her out. Again, I will include all of the links in the description box below, so you can look into her books yourself and see if they interest you. So that is all of my fun at the book festival. So that is all the fun that I had at the book festival. And now I want to tell you about my little library trip. So I went to the library after the book festival because I needed to return some books. And while I was there, as I mentioned before, I looked up some of the authors that had been at the festival, and a couple of them were not available through my library. So I think I might put in a request to purchase their books. And also some of them were available, like Sharon Burt's, and I put on hold some of their books so that I can read them when they come in. And I'm looking forward to reading the books by these authors. In particular, I know for sure the Susan Higginbottom and Sharon Burt's are available at my library. So looking forward to reading theirs. The other ones, I hope the library will pick them up. Otherwise, I may look into purchasing some more of their books as well on my own and seeing if I like them. So I'll give them a try. But also, of course, while I was at the library, I did a little browsing and I picked up a couple books. Here's the ridiculous thing. Like, the books that I returned to the library today, there were 2 books. And the one I never got around to reading, even though I wanted to. And the other one I started and I didn't finish it. So I pick up all these books at the library and then I never read them and I just end up returning them. Sometimes I do read them. I do occasionally read them, which makes it worth it. Otherwise, I just would stop going. But I picked up some books. Who knows if I'm going to read them or not. But they are ones that I have been wanting to read. It's just, will I read them before I have to return them to the library? I don't know, but whatever. This one is by Claire Keegan, which I read Small Things Like These last Christmas and really enjoyed it. So I want to try some of her other books. This is her most recent one, I think. I am not sure that the topic really interests me that much, but I do want to read some more of her writing because I enjoyed it. And who knows, it might be amazing. And it's small, it's short. So I thought for Shorty September, it's a good fit. It's definitely less than 200 pages. It's 118. So I got that one. And then All That It Takes, I have been wanting to read ever since I read the first one in this series, which is All That Really Matters, and really enjoyed All That Really Matters and have wanted to read this one since then, but I haven't yet. Will I read it? I don't know, but it works for series September. So I might do this and replace one of the books that's on my TBR for series September if the mood strikes me, which it might, because I have been wanting to read this for a while. And then I promised that I would tell you my thoughts about Fahrenheit 451. Fahrenheit 451. My goodness. This book. What a wild ride. So I think I expected something of a wild ride in this book, but I'm not sure that I quite expected the wild ride that it was. Definitely a quick read. I probably could have read it in one day, in one sitting, if I had actually had the time to do that. I didn't have the time to do that, but I think I could have. As it was, I read way more at each sitting than I intended to. And it's only 3 parts to it, and each part is longer than a chapter, but still not very long. The whole book itself is just over 200 pages, so it almost fits for Shorty September. I really love the message in this book, which I have always been told, or, you know, when people talk about this book, this is what they talk about. And this is a primary theme in the book. It's about book burning and about censorship by extension. And so that is a good message, whatever, in and of itself. But I actually felt like this was about, it went deeper than that. It was about more than that. It was about this. The second part in particular, I felt like really was driving home the point that what was killing the dystopian society that this book is describing, what was killing the people was their, insatiable appetite for entertainment, and not for books, but for entertainment. So like his wife was slowly dying and even slowly killing herself without even realizing it by being constantly deadened by entertainment. She had these like earbuds that she constantly had in her ears that were like streaming something along the lines of like podcasts and information and stories and whatever constantly in her ears. And she would lie in bed at night, like with her eyes open, and she wasn't really sleeping. She was like listening to what was coming through these seashells, as they were called. And then when she was awake and conscious, there was this room, and each wall was like an interactive TV sort of thing, sort of interactive. It was like AI, where they would interact with her and call her by name, but nothing was ever actually happening in any of these stories. It was just deadened entertainment and pointless and banal, and she was just dying a slow death because of it. And so her husband, Guy Montag, who is the hero of this story, he sees that, and he sees a contrast in a girl that he meets, a younger girl who, in contrast to his wife, is filled with wonder and curiosity and life. Like, she is wondering things about the past, wondering about philosophical things, wondering about life. And she's curious about everything. And she enjoys nature. She seeks out nature. She's not trapped by technology and entertainment and media, but she's seeking out nature and the beautiful things of life. When he sees this contrast to what his wife is becoming, he kind of becomes aware that his job as a fireman, where they actually are burning books and burning houses that have books in them, he realizes that maybe that's part of the problem, that they are getting rid of in their society the things that could be life-giving. And it's not just the books themselves that are life-giving. It's the curiosity, it's the wonder, it's the seeking for life, and the willingness to face harsh things and reality, and to face them head on, and not to be deadened by desensitizing, fluffy, nothing entertainment that never addresses the true issues and realities of life. And so that just, this is right up my alley, guys. Like, this whole idea of seeking wonder, being curious about life, pondering deep things, and also being willing to tackle the hard things of life and the harsh realities of life, and how books are a wonderful way to enable us to do all of that. And so it was really right up my alley. The message was right up my alley. And I read this with Jeanette at Jane Reads and Catherine at Regional Love, as I mentioned, and we were all comparing notes on it. And it was interesting. They brought up that they saw a lot of the issue of control as well. And so, like, the government in this book is definitely controlling people via the mindless and endless stream of entertainment and information. Like, they are controlling the flow of information. And so that is also a vital piece, because that is definitely happening today. And I got to thinking, actually, that is one of the reasons why I mentioned in my library tag some months ago that I have kind of a controversial take on public libraries, and that I really don't support libraries being publicly funded. And this is one reason why, because anything that is state funded becomes state controlled. And if the state is controlling the flow of information, then you set yourself up for a scenario like this. And I think a lot of people just are like, oh, it's free, it's wonderful. And yes, but you are handing over control of the flow of information to someone that you maybe shouldn't trust with that. Now, thankfully, at this point, the state does not control the publishing industry as a whole. So, and there are ways to get information besides the public library, but still, that is one of the potential issues that I see with publicly funded sources of information on media and entertainment. Anyway, so it was a very interesting story, brought up a lot of heavy things. It was intense, an intense read for sure. Very fast paced, and kind of some heart-stopping moments, but very interesting, and I loved the overall message of it. And one thing I didn't like so much, and it probably would knock it down from 5 stars for me, is it was very heavy with the cussing. Unnecessarily so. Like, a few sprinkled here and there would be, it's not a big deal for me personally, but it was enough that I was like, okay, that's excessive. We don't need all that. So it was a little bit too much cussing and a lot of taking of the Lord's name in vain, which I particularly don't like. And so that would knock down a 0.5 star for me, but the overall message of the book and the story itself and what the characters go through and everything is, I felt like it was a really valuable and worthwhile examination into those issues, and a wonderfully told story. So all in all, I really enjoyed this book. It would be 5-star for me, except for the cussing that I wasn't a fan of. So that was my week. I think that was everything that I wanted to mention, and this has certainly gone on long enough, so I need to get these videos up and edit them so I can get them up live tomorrow. So anyway, I hope you all had a fantastic week, and I hope that your weather is as beautiful as the weather that we are having lately here. It's been absolutely gorgeous, and I hope it continues. I think it will continue into this week. Some lovely weather. So anyway, I will see you next time. Bye.